Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Michael Kahn, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Melby Styles, Troy Shuker, Boesnail, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show. Pardon?
I said good to have you back.
Oh, thank you very much. Hey John, can you hear us?
Yeah, how y'all doing?
Very well. Since I was ill, they changed the moot, whatever they call it now. Moot. The new version of Google Plus, basically. It's all different. They've updated it. It's better. Just lacks the ability to adjust the volume for the people in there. That's the only thing I'd really miss from actual G Plus before they phased it out.
I give you a little bit more control over the show.
It just meant I could level up the guests and match them all, but now I can't. So typically Anthony, if I'm honest, he's the biggest offender. He's always 10 times louder than everyone else. And I can't do a great deal about it, apart from literally every time I ask him to turn his gain down. Were you here yesterday? He's like, my gain's not too loud. I was like, okay, turn it right down. So he turns it right down. I'm like, what is that noise? And it's him moving his mouse. You're like, oh my God. Obviously it's too sensitive. It's picking up your bloody mouse moving.
Again with the mouse?
No, just Anthony being too loud.
No, I think your ears are more in tune since you have this mouth issue.
No. I just know how loud things are. I'm set up to know how loud things are. That's what I'm set up to do. That's the whole purpose of this room.
I think you're way too hard on Anthony anyway. You're really tough on him. Worse than me.
What do you mean? About audio standards?
Nah, just in general, a lot of times you just get on him a little bit. I notice it.
Because he's my mate, that's why. Of course I'm going to give him shit. He's my actual friend, so yeah, he's going to get it worse than anybody, isn't he?
Yes, exactly. But sometimes, you go a little too far.
Nah, I don't agree. He'd say something.
Well, he's your friend. He's not going to say nothing. I notice it. As an outsider sitting in and listening, you just ride him a little bit too much. But he's your mate, so you can do that. I understand that.
Well, as mate, as in you can be more straight up with him, right, Nathan?
I'm pretty blunt with Anthony.
Yeah. I mean, that's the good thing about friendship, right? Is you can be more straight up with them.
I suppose so. I hadn't really thought about it till Neil just pointed it out, but there we go.
It's like you two understand each other more, but to an audience like maybe Neil, it may not make as much sense because it's like
Whoa,
that
whoa,
click you
whoa.
two have, right?
Who said it didn't make sense? I understand how friendships go. And you're right, the guys that you're friends with. I've been ridden and I've rode. But what I wanted to ask you, what was that book they were talking about, Nathan? That Adam was giving his 2 cents in yesterday with that guy.
I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. It's been commented on. I don't know. It's not my subject, I'm afraid. Neither are bombs. Just so you know.
Oh, that was hysterical. Was he not getting it though? Was he not getting what you were trying to do? Sometimes I'm confused. I'm like, is he not getting it, this guy?
I wasn't trying to do anything. I said this at the time. If I hear somebody claim something and I've got no first-hand experience of it, you're just going to say, well, what is it exactly that you're talking about? Now, here, there's a context to that question. The context is automatically beyond the bog-standard narrative with no proof of the outrageous claim that you can power it off to me now. What is your evidence that this thing is real? Now, that, I'm going to say, but it actually goes without saying, right? We are hyper-specific in terms of what we want as proof of things. Now, while I might not have given any lengthy consideration to that particular discussion, he had, and he was more than happy to put his reputation on the line for it, right? Why? I don't know. Nor do I care, but it was interesting.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I know what they say about nuclear bombs, but I'm not going to stand there and say, okay, they've been validated because Hiroshima. I hear too many things about Hiroshima. I don't know what's the truth. I wasn't there.
But it doesn't validate it either way. So I said that at the time it's non sequitur. I realise that it's not non sequitur for somebody who's just, look, it says it here in this. Yeah, okay. Yes, that's why I say it has to go beyond the having to say it every time, that, yeah, beyond the storybook.
Yes, that's my point. Beyond the storybook, even the stuff, not to bring it up, but the Hitler stuff and the World War II stuff. I don't know. There's so many mixed stories. I just do not know anymore. So I'm not even going to comment on it anymore. Besides today.
No, but if somebody's willing to put their, stick their neck out and say, yeah, oh yeah, definitely, you're like, fine. Just tell me all about it. Just give me the standards that you've accepted. And if they're rubbish, that's going to get pointed out, right? Doesn't make me think. I didn't wake up this morning thinking, I wonder if nuclear bombs are real. Not at all. Or I don't believe in them anymore. Or I definitely do believe in them anymore. I literally couldn't care less. Until someone comes along and goes, oh no, you must believe this. Are you denying it? It's like, no, I hadn't given it much thought today. Be honest. You brought it up, not me.
I do think it's interesting that nuclear weapons give the government the ability to keep secret compartmentalizations within itself.
It's part of the movie narrative, isn't it? You've got the key, I've got the lock, the other guy's got the encrypted code. It has to be sent with verification that is also encrypted. Like, that's the whole process. What are you saying? So I can't just have the key? No, Mr. President, you can't just have the key. That would be irresponsible of us. What a load of crap.
What's the basis of a nuclear bomb? What is it? Like you're splitting an atom, right? Because I remember when I learned it in school, the teacher was saying, if you were able to just split an atom right now with your finger, you would cause a chain reaction and it would be a nuclear blast. I don't get it.
No, that's not true.
That's an A-bomb.
That's not true. You need
I got it confused yesterday in the discussion. I was calling it a hydrogen bomb, which is essentially it's splitting of the atom, correct? Splitting a hydrogen atom, and then you get this big explosion. Again, we didn't even get into that. But no, we're talking about is it nuclear fusion, causing a chain reaction and explosion, as opposed to nuclear fission, which would be the energy creation? But it's irrelevant, all of it, because it's like, okay, show us that. Oh, well, I can't get hold of plutonium. It's like, oh, I can't get hold of adamantium either, or unobtainium. It's very difficult. It's very dangerous stuff. You're like, what? Okay. Let's all be scared of it then.
You don't know the same people Doc Brown knows. Doc Brown got plutonium.
Wasn't that released right about the time of the Cold War?
Yes. I think it was 85, right? 86?
It's either just after or around about the same time.
I will say that there are missiles that I have been around that contain radioactive substances that are being broke down to create fuel for submarines and their reactors.
Cool.
Do we have nuclear power, though, as far as nuclear energy and stuff like that?
Maybe.
Yeah. But I would say yes. I've worked in a nuclear reactor. I've been exposed to...
Was it working on a similar principle as the power stations? Essentially a giant steam turbine.
Well, yeah, the part that converts the mechanical energy into electrical energy is a steam turbine, yes.
So something with the potential, in other words, if you are making energy, you can take that same thing and potentially make it destructive, can't you? Like gasoline is, right. We use it to power our cars, right? We could blow stuff up with it.
What's radiation? For all your 5G conspiratards out there, it's just light, right? It's just wavelengths of light. Wavelength being the mathematical description derived from diffraction patterns, giving you rates that you can put into a mathematical construct to describe as wavelengths. Now, varying wavelengths can be harmful. Most are not. Some are visible, some are not. Right? Heat is just a wave of light. If you want to look at it in the most simplistic way, that's what you're talking about. So you're talking about radiation, that would be radiating it, and heating it up to make a turbine move. Now, do I dispute that that process is absolutely in effect? Heating water and making a turbine move? Most definitely.
Well, there's parts that also get contaminated with, like, it's
yeah, the sludge afterwards.
Because it'll stick to your clothes and to your skin.
Yeah, nuclear waste, like in The Simpsons.
Yeah, I've never actually held a rod of plutonium, not like Homer has, but
no.
I have stood next to the water that has what is it, specific gravity. I mean, it's so low that, like, if you jumped in it, you would sink directly to the bottom.
I don't dispute it. I don't doubt it. Right. But it's just a folly. It's not really that relevant. Is there a sham somewhere or a scam somewhere along the lines? Probably. Will we find that it's somehow part of the control structure? Well, power. Yeah, well, people are after power, and in the most literal sense, power is power. So, yeah, undoubtedly. But so what? You know, it's just digging into the matrix, isn't it? I mean, there's 101 different things that are loosely related to the subject we actually cover. How closely related is this, other than some random Joe bringing it up on the show yesterday? It's not really, is it?
Yeah, I couldn't make the tie-in between nuclear weapons and nuclear power, or even how it for sure is done.
Well, that's not what I mean. I mean the nature of our reality. Now, if you want to talk about the nature of the construct that we live in, let's just call... What was it called yesterday? I think it was society was the label that it got given. If you want to call it that, fine. Let's say in societal terms, yeah, nuclear weapons and fear porn, propaganda, all of those things, very interesting. But that's purely, you know, in terms of how people would perceive it socially, as opposed to the actual nature, physics. You know, that isn't the same thing. It's claiming to be physics, which is that's where the segue came in, because there's a claim of something that's occurring, right? Potentially a natural phenomena.
Nathan, you didn't see those videos of nuclear bombs exploding? How they blow all those houses to bits, and then that big wave comes in and everything else gets destroyed?
Yeah, I've seen it,
I'm
and
sure
I've seen
you've seen those videos.
Yes, and I've seen the conspiratorial to pull it apart. But okay, when you ever really dig into these rabbit holes, at the bottom is just some fearmongerer that wants to scare the crap out of you to keep control of you. And you don't have to go in the rabbit hole, you know, especially when you go down and half the time the things that are in there that seem very scary are actually put there by the people who made the hole in the first place. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily have to dig into these rabbit holes.
Yeah, but I was just thinking though, because I don't believe they exist. I think they got us afraid of all of these things so they can keep their control. But I was just thinking, I mean, gasoline powers my car and a lot of other things, and you can make a bomb out of gasoline. So maybe it
Can we
is
not
true. I don't
stop?
know.
Let's not discuss how to make bombs on the show. Yeah, God.
I never did it myself, but I'm just saying.
Let's
you probably
change the
could.
subject. Well, my whole point in
I bet you.
I was just trying to say, other than the link to a potential for there being a physical, how close to natural it might be or not be is irrelevant. There might be a phenomena that you could study. That's it.
I was gonna say you need a container for sure.
Definitely need a container.
I mean, there's all kinds of crazy notions in terms of things like ICBMs. Can they actually fly? That was one of the conspiratard opinions that was put out there. You know, can these penis-shaped things actually fly through the air at all? You know, let alone for thousands of miles intercontinental. You just go, the shape of it doesn't look really conducive for flight, but maybe it does. But that was the opinion of, like I say, people who aren't me. And while I might have watched the video with a fleeting interest, it's certainly not something I'd want to cover at any great length. Or if I did, what would be the purpose? You dig down the rabbit hole, you find that it's there as a method of control. You go, oh, shocker. But does it really affect my actual reality? Which is why the subject of flat Earth to me is far more fascinating. Because it is, at bare bones, it's really nitty-gritty reality that you're talking about. At the most base level, that's what we're talking about. And when you go, well, okay, well, what's the genre then? Well, it's physics. That's the genre. And you go, well, that's cool. That's cool. To me, it's cool as a bit of a nerd. An ex-heliocentrist. I used to be interested in the quote-unquote physics of the heliocentric world. It wasn't. And my interest in physics, or science, has been rejuvenated as a result of flat Earth. What's physics? Well, it, as I say, is the most nitty-gritty base level, the physical. That to me is much more interesting, because that to me is my reality. I like to spend a lot of time in the reality I find myself in. You know, this is about as detached from I get from it, and I've got pretty much complete control of my own show now. You know, it's structured in a way that I've got control over it, but once I relinquish that, I try and detach from that and go back into the actual outdoors if it's not raining, and, you know, experience the physical, the reality. Get my kids to walk outside barefoot, chase bumblebees, you know, just experience reality, where most people are very much trapped in the, well, this narrative and this story and this social construct and this idea, this belief, this religion. It's like all of those things aren't necessarily directly affecting the physicality of your world in any significant way, but you let them. You don't have to. Just detach yourself from it. Hence, when you do, you go, oh, I don't care. Nuclear fission or fusion. Oh, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Oh, yeah, they're telling you this, that, and the other. Oh, yeah, okay. Why are you so keen to believe it? Is what I'm more interested in. I wonder where John went. Just vanished. Your picture's really clear, by the way, now, Neil. Did you know that?
My picture's really clear.
Yeah, since the rearranging of whatever it's called now, meat, whatever, they've rearranged it in such a way that it does actually show both what I present. So at the moment, you can see it, Flat Earth Debate, and a whole bunch of people. You're below it, and you can see you with presumably your wife.
Well, that's what makes the picture good. My beautiful wife.
Yeah, she's way out of your league.
They call it marrying above down south.
You're marrying up.
Yep, not down, up.
Yeah, but
down.
While that might sound good on the surface, the flip side of that coin is your wife, Neil. She married down to be with you.
Yes, I just said. I said she went down.
I don't need any of those sorts of personal details, thank you.
Stop. Where's your mind at? And she's standing right next to me, so.
Tell her she looks beautiful.
Actually walking, so doing like, how many laps? 4 laps around this complex. So I'm huffing and puffing right now.
Tell her to remind you she married down next time you do something wrong.
Nathan said to remind you married down. Oh, she knows.
Oh, I'm sure she does, Neil.
As soon as I open my mouth, she must say, geez, I married so down.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Oh, man, I missed yesterday's show. But hello, welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Hey, Lite.
Hey,
What's
Brian.
up, guys? And,
Hey, Nathan.
thank
Hey,
you
Neil.
for the new addition on this side on the Discord. I think it's a brilliant idea.
I don't
Can't
know
wait to get to chatting with some new folks.
what's the new edition?
The newcomer queue, so that the moderators on this side can easily spot anyone new that has clicked the link.
Oh, I see it. Oh, yeah. It's nothing
Yeah.
to do with me. I thank the people who actually keeping the server running, which is definitely not me.
Well, I guess I could pat myself on the back because I was looking for something, that would help, and this definitely does. So
Oh, I see. Very subtle. Excellent work.
Hello.
Hey, Armin.
Hey.
Hello.
Where's everyone?
Say again, Armin.
Where's everybody? Where's chocolate?
I don't know. Maybe
John.
They're late.
there's no timetable here other than when I'm about to start, which is now.
All right.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are joined by Arwin, Brian's Logic, Neil. We did have Father of a Stolen Child, but he seems to have vanished, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Morning.
Hey, Nathan.
Good morning. Very enthusiastic lot you are too. Any evidence of physical Earth curvature?
Absolutely not.
Curve function collapse.
Have you seen my latest video, Nathan?
I think I have, Brian. I think I have. You'll have to remind me what it is, but yes, I think I have.
It's about airplanes and
Something to
about
do-
lift.
Is it something to do with
airplane.
Wolfie?
Sorry, Nathan?
Is it something to do with Wolfie?
Yes.
Yes, I have seen it. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, well, just because we're talking about our curve there. Well, an airplane needs thrust to fly forward, and it flies horizontally, but the thrust causes a pressure differential at the wings, and this causes lift. So that's how it basically needs, that's a big part of how it takes off. Not a whole part, but a big part of how it takes off. So lift is important. So you have thrust and lift against drag and weight, right? That's basically it. Now, the more thrust, the more lift. The more lift, the more tilt of the nose of the airplane. Sorry, the more tilt the nose of the airplane has above horizontal. So all airplanes fly with their nose above horizontal because of lift. The lift causes this to happen. The thrust causes the pressure differential. The pressure differential causes the lift causes the nose of the airplane to tilt. The more thrust, the more lift, the more lift, the more the noses will tip up. So it's impossible for airplanes to be flying around due to that. I know we already knew that, but that's the actual reason for the audience why that is, why the nose is always above horizontal. So it's absolutely impossible for an airplane to be flying around a curved Earth. And my next video, I won't say what it is, but in my next video, if I'm correct about something, will absolutely destroy the whole thing.
This is something Adam Meakin covered extensively, and did all the maths for it. It might be worth getting in touch with him and just getting a few of his slides off him, because he's done all the maths already.
Are you talking about to do with lifts?
Yeah, basically the angle of well, it's actually called angle of attack when it's detailing with planes. It's where I got the terminology from when detailing foreshortening. But that aside, he's detailing the exact same argument, which is to say that based on the angle of attack, you nose up and not descending around a sphere. But he had some tricky maths about it because they presumably responded or refuted what he was saying, and then he came back with the slightly more advanced or adjusted maths. But he's gone through the whole shebang in that argument, because it's not a new argument. I'm not decrying what you're doing or what you're saying. I'm just saying that Adam's well worth getting in touch with on that score, because he's got it all figured out in the most literal terms. Figured out as in he's got the maths for it.
Yeah, well, no, I know about angle of attack and trim and all these things, but the video I made, the whole point of it is to keep it very simple. It's that the nose of the plane can fly with the nose down below horizontal, because then it won't have any lift. If it won't have any lift, it can't overcome weight. That means it's falling out of the sky. So I know what Adam did, and Adam also did. I know Adam also did another demonstration of how accelerometers never change their direction of down. Once they're set to 0 or whatever, they can't change their direction of down on a flight, which they would have to do on a globe, because they would have to change their direction of down. There'd be no way around it.
Correct.
But the point I'm making with this video, I'm keeping it, because rather than going into too many different topics, I wanted to just keep it very, very simple, just on thrust, drag, weight, and lift, and how lift, the plane can't fly with its nose below horizontal because lift makes it impossible. Lift causes that. The plane can't lift in the air without lift.
I see. So
So
your argument is that in respect of aerodynamics and achieving lift, it wouldn't be achievable for a sustainable flight if you were descending over a sphere edge. You wouldn't be achieving lift because you'd be nosing down.
Well, the thing about it is that you have to, like, when you add thrust, you create more lift. And when you create more lift, you create more tilt of the nose. So the plane is always, once there's lift, the nose of the plane is always tilted above horizontal, always. It just depends on how much. The more thrust you have, the more, in basic terms, the more thrust, the more lift, the more lift, the more tilt of the nose. Lift is just basically entropy. It's high pressure wanting to go to low. That's what causes lift. So
Wait,
Go ahead.
wait a second.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Now, I know that. Okay, I'll just say this. It looks eerily similar, like what you just described, right? The more thrust, the more lift. Well, it's the same way. It's like the difference between a barge and a speedboat, right? Speedboats are just nose up all the way, right? Like damn near do a backflip with the speedboat.
yeah, exactly. Well, basically, visually, yes, because the more force you have behind it, I'm not saying that they do the same thing. Obviously, there's no propellers at the back of the airplane like they would be in the water, but it's the same thing. The more thrust you put into, the more power you put into the boat propellers, into the engines, the more the nose tips up in the air. So visually, it'd be the same thing. Yeah. So basically the same. But you can't. The plane won't fly without lift. And once there's lift, the nose is always above horizontal. So lift, basically, which is just basically entropy, a pressure differential, and the high pressure underneath the wings wanting to go to the lower pressure above, that basically debunks that you could ever fly with the nose below horizontal. Because as soon as you put the nose below horizontal, like, I mean, you can do that as a pilot. You can put the nose below horizontal, but you're going to career into the ground unless you correct it. And I've been on planes that they've done that, where they've actually just dropped an altitude with the nose, bringing the nose below horizontal. But that's only, and everyone has to be in their seats and strapped in and all that. But for basic cruising altitude and for takeoff, you need, and for landing, you need lift.
There's a question from Sleeping Warrior. He says, ask Brian what causes the change in altitude of the plane. Is it velocity? Question mark. Also, shout out to Will Gatson, who's joined as a member. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, most of the time it's to do with power, or the amount of power they put, the thrust they give into the pilot puts into the plane, like into the engines. It's or the amount of thrust that I'm not saying this right, but basically it's about thrust. You pull back on the power, and you will drop an altitude. That's how you drop an altitude. You have to pull back on the power, or you can force the nose below horizontal, and that will do it. But mostly they just pull back on power to drop altitude.
Okay.
So if they want to hold, see, this is another thing. The globe Earth argument, and this is why I brought it up in the Earth curve part. The globe Earth argument is that the airplane follows an altitude, right? That's the globe Earth argument. But that would mean that altitude has to follow the exact curvature of the Earth. But it can follow this exact line that's following the curvature of the Earth if the plane can only fly due to lift. It can't be doing it. It can't follow a curve down the way when it has to fly. When to fly horizontally, it's forced to have its nose above horizontal. It can't do the other thing. So it holding an altitude is a flat out proof, because it wouldn't be able to hold that altitude and still be flying horizontally with its nose above. Well, obviously not horizontally, but with its nose above horizontal. Because to fly in a horizontal manner, the nose of the plane has to be above horizontal. Well, and it always is above horizontal, because it always needs lift. You understand what I mean? So it comes back to, without, like, lift causes this. So it makes it impossible. It's completely impossible.
Okie doke. Let's move on. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No.
Where's my tumbleweed sound effect?
Am I falling backwards?
No.
No, I'm not.
No claims of dropping ball bearings in tall towers? No? Moving on. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No.
Nope.
What is the sun?
Nothing.
I don't know.
Somebody said yesterday it was a disc.
Yes. That's just trying to describe what we see of it. Any evidence of the distance to the sun? If not, we'll move on.
Nope.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No. No scientific evidence of gravity. It's an apparent effect of acceleration in the 4D. If you can come up with scientific evidence of that, well done.
So when Neil deGrasse Tyson drops the mic and claims gravity, what is he saying?
Yeah, nothing.
That the
A
Earth is-
clown
sorry.
stood next to him with a load of helium balloons, lets go at the same time, and he looks very stupid, doesn't he? Neil deGrasse Tyson looking more stupid than the clown. Because things drop. He drops the microphone. Clown lets go of the balloons. Balloons go up into the studio lights. Lots of banging as it hits the roof. Moving on. Any single viable hypothesis?
Well, just
Go
before
on.
you do,
Go on.
technically, just to answer what Neil is saying, technically, what Neil deGrasse Tyson is claiming there, at current, if we're using current terms, is that the Earth is coming up to meet the microphone.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, that's Einsteinian nonsense for you. Anything more on that exasperated, really? Yes, really.
Well, if the Earth is
Can you
coming
go
up
into detail?
to meet the...
Can you go into detail about how that's described? Like, can you tie this to Einstein?
Are you talking to Nathan or me or Neil or?
Either.
Hold on, Adam.
It doesn't matter. Brian.
Whoever.
Before you go, I had the question. If I'm dropping something and I'm in New York and the Earth is coming up to me and somebody in Australia is dropping something, then how is that happening?
No, you only calculate it for the one position at the time. This is mathematical. This isn't something that occurs in reality, Neil, but you calculate it from your position in Australia with the Earth. What's going on, Neil? With the Earth coming up to meet the microphone in Australia. And then if you calculate it in New York, you just calculate it for the Earth coming up to meet the microphone in New York. Only done from one specific position at a time.
It's a bunch of bull then. Can't calculate something to happen and say, well, the calculation makes it work. That's retarded.
That's the word work that's the problem there. Work would imply that it's doing something physically. Well, it's not. Calculable in mathematical terms. Yes. Yes, you can calculate it. Brian described it very concisely. But that doesn't mean it's doing any work. There's no work being done calculating something in pseudo-4 space and describing it as the Earth meeting the apple, or the mic in this case.
Yeah, the apparent effect is you seeing something that you think is gravity, but it's actually only an effect. It's only an apparent effect of acceleration
In pseudo-4 space.
Yes, in 4D. So if you're
somewhere we don't
witnessing
live.
anything that you think is gravity, you're actually only witnessing, according to Einstein, an apparent effect of acceleration in the 4D.
Where we don't live or reside.
No.
You all clear, Neil? We all good?
That would be even more reason for me to believe that it would never affect gases.
Doesn't affect anything. What do you mean? It wouldn't affect gases. It doesn't affect anything. It's pseudo force space. Pseudo.
Agreed. But even if I gave it to them, I wouldn't imagine it affecting gases.
No. You can have both, as quantum eraser would say. Newtonian and Einsteinian gravity. Neither's going to ever affect entropy.
Exactly.
Right. So if the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space. Is there any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
I have several people arguing with me at present that a pressure differential where high is going to low is not part of the entropy description. Basically, pressure going to low is not.
That's a specific example of entropy increase that you've just described. An entropy increase. That's what you've just described. So then they're saying no, that's not very specifically describable as an entropy increase. That's what they're saying to you. Then they're idiots.
I had a guy told me turn on a fan and you'll see gas pressure out of container.
Where'd you get the gas in the first place? At pressure
Well,
for you
that's
to
my
blow
question.
around. Starting with existing gas pressure and then making it blow around in this case isn't an answer to the question, how can you have gas pressure without a container? Well, if you say, well, if I just take some gas pressure, it's like, well, how have you got that in the first place? Now, if you're a fundamentalist religious zealot with a globe belief, you'll say, well, gravity holds it here. Well, as we've just discussed, no, it does not. It's not a force. Quote, Brian Cox, there isn't really a force of gravity at all. Quote, George Musa, gravity is not a force, end quote. Another quote from George Musa, literally, it's not a force, end quote. Speaking on gravity, George Musa. So no, it doesn't hold gas here. Well, what are we talking about entropy increase? Well, that's the hot to cold, high to low pressure in this case. Gas just fires off in all directions, right? That's what it does, till it hits something. Now, if there's nothing to hit, it just keeps going. So what's the gas going to do? What are these clouds going to do on this cartoon of a molten iron core? Well, the gas clouds would expand because they're high-pressure gas. And this is a low-pressure vacuum, according to the heliocentric religion, 10 to the minus 17 torr. So these high-pressure gases are going to want to expand until they hit something. And according to the heliocentric world, there's nothing to hit. So they'd expand out into the area known as a vacuum. We'd all be dead. Now, the sky's not a vacuum. Space is fake. Outer space, the sky vacuum, isn't real. It's akin to Narnia. It's an invented place that doesn't exist. So you can't take photos from there. You can't fall around in orbits there. You can't travel to rocks you think lights are through that medium. In other words, every single claim that has ever come from that place is fake.
Yeah, the gases would never have gathered here in the first place. The matter itself that makes up the apparent spherical Earth would never have gathered together in the first place.
Exactly. So when someone says I just blow the gas pressure I'm utilising as a pre-existing next to a vacuum, by the way, that gas that's here and the sky is automatically a vacuum by assumption, I can blow that around with a fan. And you go, hold on, how'd you get the gas pressure in the first place to blow around? Because that's the question. How can you have gas pressure without a container? Can you show us an example? Well, we've got it here on Earth. It's not expanding into the vacuum. This dude in this film needs a container to keep the gas inside his suit. The Earth, on the other hand, it's perfectly happy next to the vacuum of space without the gas, which is at high pressure, expanding to fill the volume. That doesn't happen. Why not? It's a violation of the second law of thermodynamics, entropy increase. Gas fills space, that's what it does. No, it doesn't. It doesn't fill our space, because our space has got photos of Earth as a sphere from it. So it's disallowed. You're not allowed to say that the place we've got the photos from isn't real. The sky is definitely as I suggest, because I've got people on a high wire on trapeze spinning around as they fall around a sphere. And I know it's a sphere because I've got a picture from the vacuum of space that we're arguing about. Who was that?
I just like
Chocolate. Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning, everybody.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Good morning. Wasn't me.
Chocolate, you got
And then
kids?
we always hear that gas particles have weight. That's the next thing that they go to.
Gas go down, go boom, boom. Yeah, by saying weight, they're invoking
Well,
gravity.
I think
That's what they're doing. When they say weight, they are invoking gravity. Back to dropping a microphone, right? Well, my counter to that is the helium balloon, right? What does gas do? Well, it expands in all directions. It does not go down, go boom, boom. If you take an example of the water cycle, the gas is starting at ground level, making its way up, condensing, and then falling back as a liquid. But the gas is going up. It doesn't come back down, go boom, boom, to force other gases like helium up. No, that's not what gases do. They just expand in all directions to fill the availability of volume they have to fill. It's the V in standard gas law, the volume. So you need a volume to calculate how much pressure you're going to have.
Could I just say that?
and then you
Sorry, Chocolate, you go first.
I was just going to ask, how do you weigh a gas again?
You need a container. If you're going to qualify it in that term, you need to stick it in a solid container.
But I think the problem is I think it's a little bit of a red herring because while in this existence we have an up, which is the sky, and a down, which is the ground, relative to us as human beings. But on a sphere, there is no up and down. So if you just take that example to, say, the sun or to Jupiter, how would the gas that's made up of be falling down?
It wouldn't. Those gas giants, the sun, for example, are also second law of thermodynamics violations. According to them, gas was attracted by way of gravitational accretion to the point of spontaneous fusion. I think that's correct. And then that's the birth of the sun. So gravitational accretion would be gases making their way towards each other and coalescing in a fake place called space. Well, that's a direct. That's a violation of that's a violation of entropy law.
Nathan, I just thought of something. I know this. I mean, I'm a little bit behind. I mean, I guess I thought of it, but I just thought of it. You know, they say the gas is contained right around the so-called Earth, as they describe it. But anytime they always demonstrate it, they always bring containers in and then put it in another container, right? Would you agree with that typical assessment?
Other than they don't say it's contained, they say Earth has no containment.
Right. Well, but let's think about what they do. Even at the differential pressure, you've got uncontained gas learning how to contain itself, right? But they always demonstrate an open system or whatever, or a containerless gas with a container brought in by a container. You understand? I mean, I think I know I'm making it too simple, probably, but
yeah, what you're trying to say is, what you're saying is, if they're to say, no, you don't need a container. Here's a fish tank, and I'm going to pour into the fish tank some sulfur hexafluoride, some very inert gas. So they do. They put a cardboard top on. They pump the gas from one container to the other container, from the cylinder to the fish tank. Then they remove the cardboard and go, ta-da! Look, the gas stays in the fish tank. And then they float maybe a foil boat on the top of it or something to make it obvious that there's something in there. Gas. Right? The problem is, that in no way is in defiance of natural law. Because entropy increase will still occur because there's gaps between those gases. They are unbonded, even though it's a very inert man-made gas. So gas gets between it, and it still goes through the process of entropy increase as it fills the availability of volume and disperses. Dispersion is an entropy increase.
Well, no, don't miss what I'm saying, Nathan. They got a contained gas that came in a cylinder. they put it into a contained thing of a fish tank. That's still a container. But the argument is that an uncontained gas can somehow learn to contain itself. You get
Yeah,
it?
you put a fancy word like gravitational accretion on it, and everything is legit.
Hold on. No, I don't see your point, Paul, because my response was going to be the same thing. So no, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Say it
Well, I
one more
mean,
time.
obviously, how did so-called under the heliocentric model, how did stars form?
Gravitational
An
accretion.
uncontained gas.
Gravitational accretion.
Right. Well, but I mean, it's a contained gas, so somehow it started to stick together. This kinetic energy or kinetic-driven stuff, all of a sudden, I guess, cooled down to a point where it can contain itself.
No. I see. This is why I say that the first law of thermodynamics is violated, because in their current paradigm, in their story of the Big Bang, everything is moving away from each other. So this gravitational accretion thing is an ad hoc explanation for the Earth being a first law of thermodynamics violation, and everything else that has gravitationally accreted or secreted or whatever to itself. All of this is a violation of all of the law.
Yeah, because
it is,
nothing
well,
should
it's not ad
ever
hoc,
bump
though.
into anything else.
Well, no. What you're describing, so you've got the ever-expanding heliocentric universe, right, derived from the Big Bang, and then the uneven distribution of mass causes space-time to bend. And that bending is what leads to what they call gravity. That's the bending of space-time bit. The gravitational accretion bit. So it's the uneven distribution of mass causing the bending of space-time, and that's the current Einsteinian gravity, leading you on to the gravitational accretion description within the bending space-time concept.
But how did it ever become uneven?
Uneven? We're talking about a fake. We're talking about Narnia. You're going to ask me how the gas lamp burns forever, or how they managed to become children when they went back through the wardrobe? We're talking about Narnia.
No.
Well, I just discovered something else.
Wait. Well, before you talk about something else, if I could just put a pin on the last point. Well, it was already the mass it was, quote unquote. It was already the matter it was before it expanded. So it already had this gravitational potential in the first place.
No,
so why it ever expanded is the question. Like but again,
there's a
Narnia,
problem.
So okay, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm feeding back on someone. I'm feeding back on someone.
Here's the thing. Remember, this is the rhetoric. It has to cool down to attract, right? But in their argument, because stars are hot, as it cools down to attract, fusion starts, so it starts to heat back up.
No, that's the logic. But it can't cool. But it can't. Hold on. But it can't cool. It can't cool down, Paul. This is the point I'm trying to make. If we're expanding into
just one at a time, just
environment.
Hello, just Eli.
If it's expanding into a frictionless environment, then there's no way for the energy to radiate off of any of this material.
Okay, everyone else.
So it's just gonna
stop. Yeah. Everyone else, right? Brian will respond in a minute in terms of the actual rhetoric. However, I'm going to say it again, slower, right? Terms like heating, cooling, friction, yeah? They are physical terms. None of what's being described mathematically as heating, cooling, friction, time, bending are occurring in reality. This is all occurring in pseudo-Riemannian force space. That's length, breadth, depth, and time. A dimension that we do not inhabit. So arguing about how pseudo-force space describes the heating and cooling process in gravitational accretion when the uneven distribution of mass has caused time to bend. Try to bear in mind that you're arguing about whether or not Edmund would actually return to his childlike state when he went through the wardrobe. That is the comparison, just so we're clear. Brian, go ahead. Hey, Adam, by the way.
Thank you, Nathan. Yeah, I'm feeding back on someone. Like I am. What I've been trying to say for the past 7 or 8 minutes is there's a people, it still happens here. Gravity as a force was a claimed cause of weight. Gravity as an effect is not a claimed cause of weight. There is no attraction. There is no claimed cause of weight. There is only an apparent effect of acceleration being confused with something else in the fourth dimension. That is fourth dimensional. There is no cause of weight. So when ballers say, gas has weight, right? It means absolutely nothing, because in their rhetoric, there is no gravity as they think like gravity in their rhetoric since 1915 does not claim a cause of weight. That's out the window with gravity as a force. If there's no gravity as a force of attraction, there is no claim cause of weight.
Yeah, because he uses the word magnitude to describe weight. He uses the word because mass does have magnitude. Is magnitude a concept? Maybe, but it's just another way of describing the word weight.
So is resistance like
hold on, Brian, hold on. Go ahead. Is it Dougie and Demuk? Demuk first.
Demuk. Yeah, I was gonna say when you hold something in your hand and your hand's underneath it and you release it, that's just from the medium, right? How the medium resists that object. So when you move your hand, the thing will fall. All you did was remove resistance. So how the medium is what affects the resistance of the object, no matter what it is. That's how you have the density, you know what I mean? So it's the resistance of the medium. So if I sit you on a table, one more example, same thing, pull the table out from under your butt, I just took the resistance out from underneath your butt.
Yeah, but what happens if you put it in a vacuum chamber when there is no medium?
There isn't a vacuum chamber to put it in anywhere in nature.
There isn't a vacuum chamber, what?
There isn't a vacuum chamber anywhere in nature to put that in, buddy.
Yeah, but why is it down,
that doesn't exist.
Why is it always that direction?
It doesn't exist anywhere. It's a story.
It isn't always down, and I don't think he inferred that it was.
It's in a vacuum chamber, it is, Nathan.
Yeah, there's no down.
Hold on.
No, it's not.
God, say hold on.
There's no down on a ball.
5 times, hold on.
Around
hello? Hello? Can you not hear me? Saying hold on, and then fighting Arwen off as he sees it as his opportunity to jump in. Right. Bloody hellfire. Completely forgotten what my point was now.
There's no down.
Yeah, oh my God. Thank you, Brian. Yes, no down. So although it didn't present itself as an opportunity when he was giving that description, you know, he's saying the resistance of the air wouldn't hold you if you pulled your stool away. But there's no opportunity for me to say, and then the clown lets go of the helium balloon, because he hasn't left an opening to imply that it's only down.
Yeah, down is actually towards the center of the globe or away from the center of the globe.
Somebody knock him out.
Globe? What are you talking about?
Man.
With gravity.
Yeah, it's just structural support.
Can we get Arwen back? Can we leave Baldwin, like, can he go on vacation or something for a little bit?
Tell me Baldwin doesn't make you smile. Come on.
What?
He does.
What we need a room.
We should be all right. I think Baldwin's got his COVID jab this afternoon, so he'll be off, and we'll be left with Arwen.
No way.
Oh!
Never.
Said Baldwin, not you.
Don't even joke about it. Even Baldwin would never take that. Because he actually likes thinking, you know? Right. He likes that.
Okay, in the interest of balance. Okay, stop. In the interest of balance, don't touch your face. The end of COVID is on the horizon. Flatten the curve.
That's it.
Relax.
Still got a couple of housekeeping questions if anybody's interested. Maybe not. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core?
Oh,
please.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Most absurd question gets a yes today. Okay.
Well, obviously that comes with a disclaimer. If you just bear with me, I was reading a little article earlier on that I caught hold of with regards to the molten iron core. Always disappears, doesn't it? There we go.
Sorry, the citation is story in a rag.
Live science. Earth has a hidden layer and no one knows exactly what it is. New research finds that there may be a hidden layer inside the Earth's solid inner core, an inner core, if you will. The precise nature of this layer is mysterious, but it could have something to do with the changes in the structure of the iron under extreme temperature and pressure. So
it could also be made of cotton candy.
Well, yeah, but they've added some depth to it, haven't they? Instead of it just being an iron core, it's now more gobstoppery. It's an iron with even a different type of iron core.
Right, but they had to put a solid iron thing in there again, otherwise the whole magnetism story wouldn't make any damn sense. So they just corrected it.
Is it a gold
We need to
core?
go over to keep us up to date on this.
It can be gold if you want it to
quote
be.
I liked was Stevenson from Live Science says, "It's not just a solid ball of iron," which again, it's one of those disclaimers, isn't it? That's honest.
I like that one.
Just tell everybody, it's gold, and you'll get everybody interested in the core.
I've just got to say it. P waves, S waves. Just got to say it.
There's still a long way to go for P waves and S waves because all the predictions were wrong. So.
Oh my! I've got more detail if you want it, boys. Earth core comes in two parts.
More from the rag.
Liquid outer core starts at 1,800 miles from the surface of the Earth and is made of liquid metals at temperatures of 4,000 to 9,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And at about 3,200 below the surface, the core transitions to a solid iron and a bit of nickel. There you go.
Proven by...
How did they calculate this?
Sorry, proven by what?
Proven and supported by nothing, Nathan, other than an article in Live Science by the looks of it. But
as you were reading that, I had the theme to Star Wars in my head. Like, that's what I hear whenever I hear this nonsense. I just.
So, for those of you watching this live, hold on 1 second. Those of you watching this live, tonight on the second channel, there's an extended Uncut and After show. And part of the discussion was a guy that had got a belief in nuclear fusion in terms of weaponry. Not that this is at all on topic. I just heard someone making a claim in something that I hadn't seen proven to my satisfaction and just asked the guy to prove it. Now, the standard he provided was the same as Adam's standard right now. Just by coincidence. Just a rag detailing something.
wouldn't even give it the title standard. Almost like hearsay, isn't it?
It's just a made-up story. With a load of non-sequiturs linked to it in that instance.
I like Kent Hovind's explanation better for the molten iron core. Because he really believes it. Because he doesn't know. He doesn't even know that.
Absolutely destroys evolution.
Yeah,
absolutely
he's
destroys
great.
evolution, but then believes in the molten iron core.
Yeah, he's all about God and creation and even the ontological primitives. Like he's looked through a lot. He just couldn't let go of that ball, though.
I can't make up my mind about Kent Hovind. Either he's just in it for the money and it's a bit culty with his, his recluse and his followers. I think that's probably the most.
He's being used now after his prison.
Say again.
He's being used now after they gave him that little prison sentence. Now he just does what they tell him, or else they'll put his ass back.
Well, from that point of view, yeah, I think there's a definite disconnect, and Arwen just highlighted it beautifully. I won't repeat it, but yeah, well, no, I will repeat it. If you've got a storyline that leads to the molten iron core, that's an evolutionary storyline descended from the Big Bang, it's so far removed from Kent Hovind's shtick that you think, well, wouldn't that cause a bit of cognitive pain? Well, yeah, it probably does.
You can have direct comparisons with him and Jabba the Hutt guy, what's his name? Ken Wheeler. All the science that he preaches and he doesn't realise about gas pressure and all that. So it's like, I think what they're doing is they're sticking to their topic of choice, which, Kent Hovind focuses on creation over evolution, right? But he won't go beyond that because it'll discredit all of his previous work if he does. So I think they've all got that commonality in them, that they stick to the topic they know and don't go off it at the risk of sounding conspiratorial and writing off their own work.
But also, it's not
that makes
like,
sense too.
On a superficial level, like going against the globe is not patriotic in an American sense, right?
Yeah, but
so he's probably also doing it because of that. It just is, right?
who's the guy who
Right,
pretended?
Officially,
Sorry, just one sec. Who's the guy who pretended to be or said he was Jesus on Wogan? What's his name? The lizard guy.
David Icke.
David Icke
What?
managed it. So I've seen a few videos now where initially he just fobbed off the notion in terms of how it would. Because I remember talking about this several years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and saying the same thing about him and going, well, he's got a whole series of books about the moon and it's very heliocentric orientated. When he discussed the flat earth, he's like, well, no, it could be a different shape. I don't know. And then he fobbed it off by saying something like it could be a dodecahedron or something like that. But then as I watched more from him that people were sending me, he didn't pigeonhole it into, no, this isn't possible. He seemed to get around it in a way that didn't say, no, I must be a heliocentrist. So I don't know how smart the guy is. I'm not a big fan of his, but by the same token, the way he positioned himself was to say, no, I'm in no way saying I'm just going to be attached to this because it's part of my story, if you will.
right?
He seemed to
He
be
doesn't
very...
want to go there.
Yeah, he didn't need to, though. He was like, yeah, I'm open to the idea, maybe I'll be convinced it could be anything. But by the same token, here's my bit of the video that I'm actually focused on. In other words, he managed to do it without offending me, which is very difficult. You know what I mean?
That was about a year or more ago, I think, when I've heard it put in. He did exactly that. He skirted round, but almost left the door open with regards to answering it. He didn't poo-poo it, did he? But he didn't.
I think what you're trying to say is
you're talking about David Icke being asked about flat Earth?
Yes.
That's what you're talking about?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, he wasn't even asked. He brought it up of his own volition on one of his videos. Just brought it up. And he had no qualms about it. He didn't seem in any way concerned about it. He didn't seem like he was trying to poo-poo it or endorse it. There was nothing clippable. I couldn't trim something out and go, here you go, here's his take on it. He was very vague. But by the same token, he still managed to cover it. Now, maybe that's just a testament to his intelligence to manage to do that in that way, leave himself open, not manage to destroy a lot of his authorship in terms of his rhetoric, which is heliocentric based when he talks about things in the moon. So he managed to do that. Well, maybe he's just a very smart guy. I don't know. But like I'm saying, Alwyn's like, well, no, they've got to keep on that track because they'd have to relinquish a lot of their rhetoric. Well, David Icke didn't.
Which one of them follow the false reality? Like one of them think it could be like simulated. Well, a couple of them probably do, but I just didn't know. I wasn't sure if David Icke does or not.
Be more specific.
Yeah,
what do you mean simulated?
I think he thinks it's simulated.
Simulation that we live in, like David Icke. Yeah. So I mean, he could very well say it could be anything because if he does say the simulation thing, that's all I was pointing out.
But so do I. It's all context, though, isn't it? Glad Adam's here in case I stumble and fumble over this subject.
Yeah.
When it comes to quantum mechanics, although we've been using diffraction against cats in terms of talking about the diffraction limit, angle of attack, foreshortening, reducing your angle to the deck, things like that. Diffraction itself, if you look at the studies of diffraction, and with a different hat on, so you're looking at the probability distribution of that light. What does that actually mean? It means that until you come along and observe and know which path the light's taking, it only existed prior to it going through the slits, whichever one it went through, as a probability. It wasn't actualized until a knower got involved. Well, when you expand that out, the logical inference of that is that what exists beyond the known exists only as probability until somebody knows it. That is akin to the outside realms of our world. I'm shifting in my seat as I say this. Is not rendered. That's the only term I can use. I'm going to say no more. I'm hoping Adam's going to save my skin here.
It also goes through the medium.
So give me a second.
You know when they keep saying...
Sorry, go ahead, Adam.
No, somebody else go. Give me literally a second. I got a message yesterday.
I'll take over.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
There's a guy in Discord, Arwen. Hold on, Arwen. Whoever it was in Discord that was trying to get a word in, I'll cut you off. Go ahead.
Demar.
Go ahead.
Demar. I was saying the light. You know how we keep talking about just the light only? Well, isn't this light going through a medium that has reaction and action itself? Like the moisture, humidity, just the air itself that retains the light and gives us the ability to see it. See, because without the medium, you're not going to really see, like, you know what I mean? Like without something to hit the light, you don't really see the light from the side view most of the time. So like the idea that we're just looking at light alone, we're missing the whole concept of the medium that it's in also. So like a bubble, an air bubble in water, I'll be done, is an air bubble. It's a circle. And then, so like a particle or whatever. And then at the top, it makes a wave. Bust open becomes a wave. So the medium also has to do with everything we're talking about. Go ahead.
You're misunderstanding wave function. But
let me read this. This is
no,
from.
I think everybody else is.
We'll get into that shortly. Before Adam just pops his. No, we're not just talking about light. So the experiment in terms of the double slit has been scaled up to physical matter, more physical than light in scale. So no, in the effect was the same. So firing matter through a double slit still gives you the wave function probability distribution, which can collapse.
To a limited
Have they done it through water?
Hold on.
There's a maximum amount of wave
this is a
pattern
side
that can come out of it.
Go ahead, Adam.
Just a quickie, because it was odd. I got sent this yesterday from Dave Rudge, who's one of your listeners in Australia, Perth. So just read the first bit because he's asking the exact same question. Correct me if I am wrong, but is it possible that light exists only as a probability and only becomes quantified when the path is known? Therefore, it exists instantaneously and doesn't actually travel until we try to measure or quantify or measure it.
Great question, and yes. Yeah.
You got to have a definition of light at this point, haven't you? And this is where the problems start.
Yes, and where the journey started, where the investigation started, and the you could call it the end. Not
Nathan,
the end.
that's such the wrong word to use. Journey.
Can you repeat that, Adam, please?
Repeat the question in a second, but the most fascinating part, listen to what he says about the journey of the light and whether or not it's got a path. This is biblical. Who can track the path of light? Just repeat the question. It's a great question.
Correct me if I am wrong, but is it possible that light exists only as a probability and is only become quantified when the path is known? Therefore, it exists instantaneously and doesn't actually travel until we try to quantify or measure it.
Doesn't have a journey, right? I've said that in a few shows.
That makes sense to me.
I've thought of that before. Like it's not traveling from the flashlight to the wall. You just turn it on and it's there.
Yes.
Is Elijah in here at the minute? He's not, is he? I hope he's listening to this.
Yeah,
This is literally the conversation I had with him.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
My answer was, who knows? But I don't think any of the data contradicts your reasoning there.
Yeah, exactly, yes. Right, just a quick shout out before Anthony and Eli go back and forth. Off topic, I know, but some believe that David Icke and Richard Branson are the same person. Is that so, Bobby Zines? Yeah, some people believe that Barack Obama is Will Smith.
Oh my God.
It does sound a bit Pete Shea, doesn't it?
Moving on. Thank you for the super chat, though. Really, really appreciate your support. Eli, you still there?
Yes, but give me like 2 minutes. I'm in like this building. It's like sucks.
Can I just say to that other point?
That was the worst excuse ever. Can you give me 2 minutes? I'm just in a building.
Damn buildings and stuff.
Damn buildings and roads and things. Yes, I totally sympathise. You're in a building. You need 2 minutes. I get it. I have that a lot.
Yeah, but
haven't they take all the time you need if you're in a building.
Light photons traveling from one point to another?
No, they can't.
I've just realised something. Sorry. Can I get 2 minutes also? I am also in a building.
I've heard that they've actually timed it, and they've actually, yeah. Anyway,
If liquid slows light down, then how can they time it, and how can it be a constant?
And if once it leaves the
It
liquid
isn't,
and it
but-
returns back to a less dense medium, how does it speed up?
It isn't. It doesn't. All of these notions are coming from Einstein. All of these, Brian, you there? Help me out. All of these notions are coming from Einstein in terms of how light's behaving. These are all mathematical reifications of Einstein.
Exactly.
So the terms you're using are Einsteinian. The speed of light. Brian's run away.
No, I'm here. It's someone talking about the speed of light.
Yeah.
Speed of light is debunked with by the fact there is no geometric horizon. Do you want me to give details? Go on.
Water. It should be done in different gases. It should be done in nitrogen straight, hydrogen straight, just different things. And then you should get the idea of what it does in different things too. Then if it acts different, then we'll see.
This isn't going to change that there is no detectable speed, aka there is no point A to point B, aka regardless of the medium you're observing light to travel through, you can never say it's faster or slower.
No, I
specifically
just
because
I'm not talking about the speed. I'm talking about the reaction, the double split. I'm not talking about the speed at all. I don't care about the speed.
well, my point wasn't necessarily about speed either, but just the fact that it actually travels from the source to wherever. The fact that it moves.
Just got to put a
from
disclaimer
one
in
destination to another.
Being corrected by Paula. I'm blushing. So at Nathan Oakley, Job 38:35 talks about the path of lightning bolts, not just light, says Paula. Thank you for the correction. Much obliged.
I don't know. It just seems weird though. Like if we look at a tree in the woods, is it going to fall different from when we're not there and it just falls anyway? Like just the observer, really?
Well, it's not the same.
Like for instance,
it's not the same. It's non sequitur.
It's something reacting to.
It's non sequitur because unlike watching a tree fall, unlike watching a tree fall. Sorry. When you look at the light from the sun or the moon as you're standing on a beach, to you, the observer, you think that the light is reaching you, while someone on the side of you is looking at you. There's no light meeting their feet, but it's meeting yours. That doesn't happen with a tree. It's like totally not a good analogy.
So the tree or the light does what it does regardless whether you're there or not. What do you mean?
Well, I'm saying it's non sequitur because unlike a tree, you have
it doesn't make it react, Elijah.
Why did you interrupt what I was saying after you?
That's my whole point. You're saying something different, buddy. You're saying
you
stuff
asked
that's
for
not what I'm talking
clarification,
about.
though.
I'm saying, do things react by you looking? That's my only question. That's all I want to know.
No, you can cause wave function collapse by looking at something if it's only in existence as a probability distribution. Now, when I say on the edges of reality, it may not be rendered, which would be to say in that description that you two are arguing about, does a tree beyond the reality that we know make a sound when it falls? What's the answer? There is no tree.
What? Right. It's beyond what you know. It doesn't exist to you.
No, what can be known, not what you know. That is to say that if a tree exists and it is known to exist within our reality, it will always exist. It's not going to disappear from physical reality. That's not going to happen. In other words, once things are in existence, they don't just pop out of reality and become a probability. When things are actualized, that's it. They can't then become... It would be a violation of the second law. It would be a reverse of entropy to say it will become in existence as a probability when it's already in existence as an actuality. That doesn't happen. But on the edges of our reality, then yeah, you've got nothing but probability. Unrendered reality. Nothing but possibility.
Right, no magic.
That doesn't mean trees disappear or that they don't make a sound when they fall.
Well, that doesn't mean that. Right, but that doesn't make light do things when you look at it either. It's going to do it regardless. Or whether you notice it or not. I mean, it's the same.
So wait,
really
you're saying
bizarre.
that if a tree falls in the woods and you're not there to hear it, it don't make a sound? Am I misunderstanding something?
Does
No,
make a
I'm
sound, you're
saying the
just not
tree
there to hear it.
falls. No, I'm saying the tree falls, buddy. I'm saying the light does what it does, and the tree's going to do what it do, regardless where you're at or what you're doing.
Okay, just got to shout out Silent Zero, who's given me a super chat. If you have a stick from the Earth to the Sun, got a problem there straight away, Silent Zero. If you have a stick from the Earth to the Sun and someone pushes the stick, does it move at the same time on the Sun? What's the Sun? I don't know, Silent Zero. Thank you for the super chat. Anybody else want to field a question for Silent Zero in terms of pushing?
That's
No,
coming back
if
to.
he
I
put-
think that's coming
if he
back
put a
to.
stick-
That's coming back to the speed of light. I've been listening to Brandon's here and there recently. They'll be talking a lot about the speed of light. I think that's what's coming back to. There is no speed of light. There's no one-way speed of light. Never mind the two-way speed of light.
Well, if you can get a stick to go to the sun,
Well-
then we can measure the stick and know the distance.
You don't need a stick to go to the sun, guys. If you had a stick big enough to just go along the ground and keep going straight and don't follow the curve of the Earth, guess what it's going to do to the next observer? It's going to look just like a building going straight up in the fucking air. So I can walk on it and go straight off the Earth and just walk on it because gravity's going to make me do that great on this imaginary ball, right? With this straw that's going straight off the top of the ball that I'm on top. And my buddy is on the right-hand side of the ball looking up. He would see the straw going up like a giant building into the sky. Why don't we see that anywhere?
Are you on crack?
Anyway, I mean, we're hold on. Anyway, Sleeping Warrior was addressing me like 10 minutes ago. Can we get into that?
Sure. Got 2 minutes. Go.
While Tony gets ready, I've got a quick question for you, Elijah.
Well, I'm ready, but
Let me quick. All I want to know is a shed a building?
yes.
I'm going to need a few minutes,
what?
guys. Just bear with me.
I need 2 minutes. I'm in a building.
It's only not a building if it's on wheels and it's a temporary structure, and I think they consider a shed to be permanent unless it's
we
not
don't
built on a
need the
concrete base.
legal jumbo mumbo. God.
So we were talking about, me and Elijah were talking about how they measured the speed of light. And I said to him, it's a problem because they don't measure the journey. They measure what the cause at the beginning and the effect at the end, and there's nothing in the middle to measure. So they measure the response time, but not the journey. That's the gist of what we were talking about.
Gotcha. Did you want to reply, Eli, before I ask people to stay tuned?
Well, yes. That all I can say is, yeah, that's what we were discussing. Yes.
Perfect. With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you. Smash the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the PayPal link, crypto, all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Yeah, Bitcoin. It multiplied its value by 10 times in the last 12 months. Like 10 times its actual value. I mean, it's artificially high. I think your money might be in a while before you get it back.
Alrighty then.
Back to Lite.
Hello. Hello. Yeah, let's get back to that double slit. Or just the speed of light. Now, I got an idea. Like, okay, if the speed of light through...
instantaneous.
No, hold on. Just listen. Thought is instantaneous, not the speed of light.
What is the speed of light then?
Hey, Nate.
Well, how do you know?
I don't know.
How do
I
you
think
how do you
light
know
has a
that?
speed, buddy. Thought's
Well,
faster than light, in my opinion. I don't know.
How
It's my
are you
opinion.
gonna say which
I'm
is
sticking to
faster?
it because I just told you. Demok
I
says
hear,
thought is faster
I
because you
hear,
have to
I
have
heard
thought
what
to
you
perceive what light is, to perceive
I
what light's doing, or to
heard
perceive
what you
anything. You have
said.
to be able to think to even know anything, or else you'd be a
Yo,
vegetable.
what's wrong with
So
this
thought is
parrot,
faster.
yo? I don't like parrots.
Well,
Like,
I don't like
If
being
I
interrupted every
shine a
time I can't
light,
even finish a 3-second sentence, buddy. Can I
well,
finish a
you
3
said
second
what
sentence, Elijah?
you said what you
How do
said,
you know
and
what I
then I
said when I didn't
began.
finish yet? You telling me what I'm gonna
Demok.
say and I said?
You did
I don't get
though.
it.
Demok.
You
Okay,
did
right, you
though.
got
Go ahead,
you
go
got
ahead.
stop. Hello. Right, Eli, you are interrupting a bit because you disagree.
I only interrupted after having he said something, and then I was beginning to respond to it, and then he cut me off because he felt like how I was responding was misinterpreting what he meant, and then he went to go on this long diatribe that I didn't really give a shit about.
you're good, Eli.
So what do you know about light,
How is thought faster
Eli?
than light? How do we come to that conclusion?
How do you come to any of your conclusions? Is what I'm asking you.
I think, but that's what
Some say, right?
how is that
Now you got
how is
nothing to
that
say.
faster than light? How do we quantify that?
Who had a
How do
conclusion?
you quantify anything?
This is
Who
about
had
to
a
become very
like?
unproductive.
Oh my God!
This is
All
why.
I'm
This is
saying
why I
is
cut. This is
light,
why I cut them off
We
in the
don't know the
first
speed
place.
of
because you
either.
don't
We
know
can't
anything of what
argue
you're
with
talking
outcomes.
about light,
Thank you,
Elijah. So how are you
brother.
gonna argue with me
Guys,
about light?
guys, in G Plus, can you not hear them talking to each other?
No,
Kind
they're
of
low
it.
as hell.
Go ahead, T.
Well, I did ask him a question.
He was answering, and then everyone in G Plus decided to just talk straight through him. Go ahead, D-Mock.
What? I didn't hear.
You can't hear them, bro.
Do you want to ask you a question?
Yeah, I don't. How do we know thought is faster than light?
I didn't say you knew anything, buddy.
So you're just
Why are you
concluding
even
that
assigning a
thoughts are
speed
faster
to
than light.
thought?
I said thoughts faster.
This is why
Just because,
I disengaged.
listen, I'll tell you why.
Why are you
Because
even
we're
assigning
humans.
speed?
Hold on. I'm not assigning a word. I'm not assigning a speed. I just said faster, meaning faster, meaning quicker, happening faster. I don't know what the speed is. I couldn't tell you. I just
Then
couldn't.
what?
I don't think
Quicker,
anyone could.
quicker
Now,
than
hold on.
what? Faster
I'll
than
tell
what?
you
In
why.
relative to what?
I'll tell you why. In relative to the ability to have a brain and a thought. See, without the ability
That's
to think about
incoherent.
anything, no, it's not. Listen to what I'm saying. If you have no comprehension of thought, then what are we doing? Exactly.
Seems
Branch,
like we're
can
getting
you
very
hold on one second, guys?
philosophical.
Branch, can you mute?
Oh, sorry.
No
The
worries.
process goes through your thought of your brain for you to be able to interpret anything. Let's get this straight. No matter whether you're talking about speed, time, resistance, angle, momentum, I don't care what we're talking about. It goes through your thought and your conversation and your whatever you do in your brain to figure out what you're doing. It goes through your
That's
thought
all
process.
very nice, but how do we know that that's faster than light?
Wait.
I don't know. Ask a vegetable what happens,
Hold on.
and
But
then ask a
but look,
coherent
So
person
you
who has
don't
thought.
know,
but look,
but you
this is
made a
why this
statement
is
as if
why
you do
this
know.
is why I said anyway, Sleeping Warrior, what was that because this is not going to be a fruitful conversation. Like I'm sure you guys
Yeah.
can see how
No, it's
this
gonna be
is
a
not
vegetable
going
one.
to end.
Well, that's
Well,
why I
we're
wanted
going to
to
get
ask
to
my
an idea of
qualifying
what light
question. I
is.
asked
No,
him,
we're
how
not
does
because
he
nobody
know?
Three
knows
people
what light is.
talking.
Hello?
Three people talking. Chocolate, go ahead.
Yeah, that's why I asked my qualifying question of how does he know that thoughts are faster than light? And he just said he doesn't know. So I'm good.
No, he said ask a vegetable.
Thank you. Whatever. He just said he doesn't know. Can't qualify it, can't validate it. So just making statements out of nothing.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
just
that's
a random
great. Now we
statement.
got construction.
I just know without thought, you wouldn't be in this conversation right now.
I completely agree. I don't agree when we say that's faster than light somehow. And then when asked, how do we know that?
I
I just
disagree.
know. Oh, okay. That's great.
You're
We don't
connected to
know
your
the
thought. It's
speed of
wired
either,
directly
so
to
we
your
can't argue
brain.
about that.
You're not wired to light.
Okay. Go ahead, Brian.
That's why.
Yeah, we don't know the speed of thought or the speed of light. So it's not an argument we can have. Nobody can be the winner. Nobody can be correct or incorrect. We don't know. So you can't be correct or incorrect about something if you don't have the final answer.
Some people think a lot slower than other people too.
But our eyes work by interpreting the light photons hitting our eyeballs.
Well,
from your brain.
In the heliocentric model, light has to be the fastest thing. Otherwise, their whole model crumbles. Right?
Thanks for the super chat, by the way, Silent Zero. It was your super chat that sparked this conversation, so thank you very much.
Yeah, Nathan.
Not necessarily, right? If you consider let's say you had a long ass cable and you turn a light switch on, that would actually turn on faster than the speed of light.
I don't think there's a speed of light per se, but I think depending on which medium it goes through, you have a different speed. Because like you said, when it goes through one medium, it'll slow down. After it hits off the reflection, it'll keep going real fast.
Well, that's why I put the example with the stick, right? Because if you are able to push the stick, like if somebody's holding the stick here on the earth and somebody is holding the stick together with you on the sun, and you push the stick and the guy on the sun feel it at the same time, that means that information is traveling faster than light. And then on the heliocentric model, they cannot have that. It will crumble their whole system.
Could I have a one-on-one with Silent Zero for a minute, please, Nathan?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, bro.
It's okay, like, Brian wants to ask Silent Zero something. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, Silent Zero. What is the fourth step they took in determining the speed of light? That's not a trick question. I realize you won't be able to answer this.
What is what?
The fourth step.
Oh.
The fourth step. I'll tell you what it is. The fourth step they took in determining the speed of light.
What's that jump?
Branch, shut up.
I'm guessing
Branch, you dumb fuck. Go ahead.
I'm assuming they'll hop, step, and the jump.
You stupid twat. Now you can get out, you stupid prick.
Yeah, I kept on feeding back or hearing jump in. Yeah, Silent Zero. The fourth step that they took in determining the speed of light was that Kepler's analemma was correct. The third step, right, was that we went around the sun. The second step was that we were on a globe. And the first step was that the geometric horizon was a reality.
Exactly, a bunch of
speed of light.
fly.
1 second, sorry. Their speed of light calculation is based on two averages for a start. It's an average radius of an oblate spheroid globe Earth and an average distance to their sun over a 12-month period. So their distance to their sun and everything else, that all started, and their speed of light all started with a geometric horizon. There isn't a geometric horizon. There is no speed of light. There is no distance to the sun.
I'm a flat earther. I agree with you. I don't agree with their.
And I get your point as well. In your description, I'm glad you've come on to explain it, Silent Zero, because it makes perfect sense now. If you're holding a stick, you don't have to have it positioned with the sun, but obviously contextually that's useful. But if I've just got a stick with someone standing on the other side of the room, and I push the stick, well, there is no journey from my force traveling along the stick and then reaching the other end. It's instantaneous.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
They cannot have that, Nathan. They cannot have that. They teach that it will take time, even on shorter distances, right?
Right.
Yeah, ballers claim that it will ripple through the stick.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
They claim a lot of weird stuff.
Ripple through the stick.
That's
Yeah,
why I
but you
don't
can
like
describe
the
it that
idea
way.
that they
You
have
told me
like
that shit.
speeds and stuff.
The
It just
speed of
moves
light.
through one
the
thi-
two-way
one
speed of
medium
light
Hold on.
that
I
they're
had
claiming.
Hold on.
I had D-Mock first. Go ahead, D-Mock. And then Paul.
The light just moves through every medium at a different set rate for each medium, right? I mean, isn't that right? I mean,
No.
as we know, as far as we know.
No.
Like,
Doesn't even seem to have
That's
a journey.
not what we're talking about. Sorry.
But no.
They had to pre-assume that Kepler's analemma was correct. That's what they had to do, right? That's what they think is their fourth step.
I see.
That's
Together, all together.
their
I got
fourth
you.
step.
I got you. Never mind what
That's
I said.
that's actually their fourth step. Okay, that was the fourth step. And they had to use an average radius of an oblate spheroid globe Earth and an average distance to their sun over a 12-month period. So,
right. So
they don't even have a definite when it comes to the speed of light. They don't even have a speed of light, a definite speed of light. They have only something based on two averages. And the whole thing starts off with the pre-assumption we're on a globe and the pre-assumption that there was the proof of the radius of this globe was a measurement to a geometric horizon. The horizon is not geometric as apparent. So there is no two.
So it's a quadruple.
And they've never, hang on one second.
And
hang on 1 second, Rams, 1 second. I just finished. And they have never measured a one-way speed of light. So how could you know a two-way? Now.
Okay, I was presuming by the way they, speak of it, like, oh, the speed of light for this compared to this, I was just going by that only. Yeah, but now that if it's all garbage anyway, yeah, what can you do?
AU,
triple layered presumption sandwich.
So it's AU, right? You heard that term?
Yeah, it's one AU. Yeah.
Well, what is an AU? What is an astronomical
unit? It's a concept.
I know, but what are they describing
it's
in that concept?
It's a relative distance.
A distance to what? From here to what?
An average distance to the sun.
Not an average distance. Not an average. Not average. Relative.
Let's just have
average.
No, it's not
the
average.
Can't decide for if both of you answer. Just one of you. Let's say Anthony. Go ahead.
1 AU is the relative distance to the sun. It's not an average because they don't know the actual the values for the minimum and maximum distance. It's a relative state by definition.
And
they do state to know. Sorry,
I was going to say, is Brian correct when he says that you need the radius value derived from a geometric horizon to get the distance to the sun?
No, you can assume it. You can assume that Venus is the same size as the Earth, and you can assume that the Earth has got.
Hang on, how do you know what size the Earth is without a radius?
Yeah.
Well, you can calculate it based on
No.
Stop. You can't do any of that.
Right. No, we're talking about measurements of speed. Right. These are very hard and fast terms, and if you've got speed, right, distance and time, then you need the distance. And if the distance is going to be calculated as opposed to measured, then you're not going to have an accurate speed. Now, the fact that the speed is derived from a distance that's derived from a radius that's transposed onto Venus, and then Kepler's third law is applied to give you the distance to the sun, to give you 1 AU, means it's all bunk, which is Brian's point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all agree on that. I'm just trying to say. I just wanted to be clear on that. Astronomical unit is a relative distance, not an average.
It is an average. It's based on Kepler's analemma.
Which is a relative.
No, they have actual numbers. They give actual numbers.
Yeah, because so that goes back to Cassini and Christine Huygens. So they were applying actual numbers, but the numbers were based on the assumptions that we've already discussed.
Correct. So Kepler can't get the numbers.
That those assumptions are fallacious.
Hold on, you should say yes to him. Yes. Without Huygens, you can't apply Kepler. Correct.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is the whole lot is a lot of rubbish, right? But they do have actual numbers. There is an actual number, an actual figure, mathematical figure that they give to the AU, and it is an average of the apogee and perigee of the globe Earth in its offset elliptical orbit around the sun over a 12-month period in their model. That is where the AU. It's an average of an actual figure that they give it. No, it's not a real world actual.
No, it's a unit of length like a centimetre or a metre or a mile. It's just a unit of reference.
It's talking at cross purposes to each other. Yes, the end result, 1 AU, is a figure. It's an actual number, and that's what Brian's saying. They get an actual number from it. Well, where did they derive it from? Well, they're deriving it with averages.
Yeah, averages are based on pre-assumptions.
Yeah.
So
Everything
the
is based on
actual number
pre-assumptions.
is an average.
Well, they only
Yeah,
need one
there's-
actual number.
sorry.
They just need R, Neil, to answer your question. Well, they need R in the first instance because that's what the model's based on. You're a heliocentric model with an Earth as a sphere moving around the Sun in the first place. So obviously the R value is going to be acquirable by way of geometric horizon. That's Brian's point in the first instance. Anthony's then saying, well, if you're going to say it's average, well, no, it's not. It's based on something that's been given very specifically as a scaling value when you're applying Kepler's third law. Now, that's Huygens. Now, they take the R value that's been assumed and derived from a geometric horizon and just transpose it onto Venus, so that they can apply all these mathematics, but they still need to derive averages from it.
Their two-way speed of light that they always claim is a definite is not. It's based on two averages for a start. And the whole thing starts with the pre-assumption that we're on a globe and that there is a radius value, and this was measured due to us being able to send a tangent to a geometric horizon. None of that happened.
Exactly. It's debunked by the black swan. Basically, the distance to the sun is debunked by the black swan.
So every time they bring up the speed of light, they're actually speaking about just an average. They're not speaking about an actual definite, even within mathematics. Even mathematically, they're only speaking about an average, not a definite. They don't even know that.
So let me get this right.
When they bring up an astronomical unit, that's what they're referencing.
Real quick.
When we bring it up, we're bringing up a relative scale. That's the difference point. That's the point that we are not.
Well, I wouldn't bring it up at
getting
all
clear.
because it's nothing to do with us, if you know what I mean.
Well, let me get this right. So you're saying initially, the speed of light was determined based on the derivations coming from R?
Yes.
It's like that's where it starts.
Yes.
Okay, historically.
Yes.
Correct.
Great. Thank you.
Can I just
because
say,
I need this for an argument.
They needed a geometric. They needed R, which was based off of a supposed geometric horizon, to get a distance, right? A supposed distance, right, and triangulation from Venus to the Sun. So the whole distance to the Sun is based off of R, right? And the distance to the Sun is where the speed of light comes from. So it's all tied together. It all comes back to one thing, and that's a geometric horizon that doesn't exist.
Yeah, but the segue that Anthony's trying to point out, that to get from here on the ground with a physical assumption of geometric horizons to get R, you've then got to move that out into space and apply it to something to give you a scaling value.
Yeah, I understand that, but that has nothing to do with the reality of the situation.
Oh no, I don't dispute that. We're all in agreement here.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Silent Zero, if you're there, I understand what the point is, and it's a good point that he's made about with the stick that's 3 million miles away, or whatever. That's pushing it. Will it push instantaneously for the person 93 million miles away in their belief? Right, that's a good question. Right, don't get me wrong. I'm just stating that a lot of talk. Anytime any baller is talking about the speed of light, they're talking a load of rubbish. There is no such thing. There is no two-way. There's no one-way. Watch Quantum Racer. Ask what he has to say about the one-way speed of light. How can you have a two-way when you don't even have a one-way?
I totally agree with you. I have nothing, like, I'm in no, like, how you say? I won't challenge any of what you say. I agree. I totally agree with you. They need all this stuff that you're saying.
Speed aside, though, does light travel through the medium? Or...
No,
Good.
just answer him. That's a perfectly reasonable question. No, it would appear that light doesn't even have a journey. To answer your question.
Well,
Silent Zero, real quick. Did you ask somebody about that stick thing, and did somebody tell you that it wouldn't be instantaneous? That it would be like a ripple type thing? Is that what somebody told you? I'm just curious, man. Maybe he didn't hear me.
I don't think he can hear you.
He can hear you, Ray.
Maybe not.
He can.
The claim is that because materials are compressible, that the movement would go at the speed of sound. That's the claim.
What? Yeah. You're rubbing me on.
What?
Yeah, it is. That's what they say.
Be the soonest, be like they would even match.
So if I take a 10-foot fishing rod, right, and I'm holding that fishing rod at the bottom, and I go to cast it, the movement at the bottom is before the movement at the top. So it's not instantaneous within feet. How could it possibly be?
Well, I could understand
93
that
million
argument if
miles going by there.
you know, and you've got those like.
Well, it's not a solid object,
never
right?
instantaneous.
Your example is not a solid object, so therefore it doesn't fit the example. Of
Well,
the
that's how I was going to paraphrase what I just said, which is, you know, when you've got those like stringed up ball bearings and you've got about 5 of them, and you pull one of them back, let it go, it smacks into the set of other 4 ball bearings and sends the one at the end off. Now, because they're not attached, or just, you know, they're not, might be physically touching, you could understand someone making that argument that the energy has to transfer through them all and then come out the other end, right? But with the stick, it's one thing, it's one object. It can't not be instantaneous.
Exactly.
I just explained why I can't. Because you can hold a fishing rod.
Yeah, but I think you're talking about it in a different scenario, though, bro. Because you're saying once you cast it, right? You're throwing it. You're casting it like you would in fishing, right? But let's say you just take that stick and I'm holding it on the bottom and you push it from the top. Will that be instantaneous, or will that be the same ripple effect that you're talking about? I don't think that it would.
When the fish hits, you do feel it instantaneous.
Yeah, but there's all sorts of stretch in between
but the line,
you and the fish.
The line on the fish in
Yeah, all I'm saying is if you take the rod, you don't even have to cast it into the water. Just take the rod, hold it up, and move the bottom, and the top will not move immediately. It will take.
It's not the same.
Split second.
Yeah,
that's not the same though.
Yeah, you're talking about the elasticity and the resistance in the pole. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a solid piece of girder, and 2 people. It's light enough to hold whatever. I don't know, a piece of.
And it's
tubing,
it's already in both points, right? A and B.
Yeah.
You're talking about a hell of more than a stick. You're talking about something that's not going to bend.
Yeah,
key
something
factor.
solid.
That
exactly.
That's the key part. That is on both sides already. It's not traveling through nowhere or anything. It's existing on both places at the same time.
Rigid, a rigid.
The answer
pole.
that they're going to give is that even something rigid like steel is still compressible to some point.
Yeah, you're telling me that if you and I hold a broom and I push one end of it, that, oh, well, the broom is slightly compressed. Yeah, no, it just moves it and you feel it instantly because there's no in-between bit.
Right. And you would have to have some imaginary, unbelievably strong thing to go that type of distance. But that's the same thing. It's unshakable, unmovable. And then, of course, it would be instantaneous.
Yeah, but just state.
I agree. I've heard this discussion a couple of different times. You know, Dicelo was talking about scalar waves one time, and then yesterday on Brandon's show, they've been talking about time dilation and special relativity for the past few days. And so, try and get around that again. You know, they're using the example of having something stretching from here to the sun, and what happens if you push one end of it. And so I've heard the polar arguments, and that's what that basically comes down to, is that every material is going to be compressible to some point, and really what you're sending through is kind of like a shock wave through it. And so that's why they qualify it with the speed of sound.
And the reason why they're attacking this point is because, like I said, if we got something moving faster than speed of light, then their whole system crumbles. Their whole Einstein model crumbles, right? They cannot have anything moving faster than speed of light. And if we have, on the example of the stick, is moving instantaneously, it means information is traveling faster than the speed of light. Because the speed of light, as they said, it would take 8 minutes to reach from the sun to the earth. But if you move
So
the
the
stick,
stick is going through time.
not in
I
my
mean,
case.
jokingly.
It's just
Jokingly.
yeah, okay.
Not
Yeah.
really. Not really.
And even worse than that,
a-
silent. They're claiming that it would be at the speed of sound. You know, is
Yeah.
that's the time it would take to for it to move.
Well, the thing about all that is,
Oh
they're-
yeah.
they're-
They sorry. Let me just say, they did the math yesterday, and it came down to you will be able to push the stick for 8,000 hours before the other person on the other end will feel a movement. That's what it came down to it.
What?
Well, I mean, if they did the math, it must be real. What the fuck?
Okay, so yeah, that's heliocentrists for you. Nonsensical, crazy beliefs because they have maths that dictates that light has to have a speed limit, and when you show something violating it, they go, no, it's actually not violating it. It's moving at the speed of sound, and will take 8,000 hours for you to feel it if you push the stick with someone holding it at the other end, standing on the sun. You're like, no, that's just nonsense.
Well, the thing about it is that their claim involving their two-way speed of light is that the light from the sun, their sun, reaches their globe 8 minutes after it leaves the sun. But they can only even calculate that off of thinking they know a distance to the sun. There is no need to even speak about a speed of light, just the bunk that they couldn't get a distance to the sun, and that's it.
Right.
They can't. They need a radius. They
Exactly.
can't do it. And the sun is constantly a moving object, and it's always in an apparent position. There's no way around it.
Yeah. The argument is screwed from the outset.
Without the geometric horizon, they can't give you a distance to anything on their model. So they certainly can't tell you what speed light is coming from this light in the sky to their model. You know, because the thing about it, say, I really like Silent Zero's question, right? Don't get me wrong, I wasn't trying to put it down. I really like it, and it's a good question. I'd like to see the borders being a tangle about it. But the problem is with that my experience with them is they'll spend all day arguing about the mathematics of the situation, just like they come up with 8,000 hours or something before the other person would feel it. This is what they'll do: you take away their speed of light completely, and they don't have anything.
And in a few words, we're begging the question. That's what you're saying to begin with, right?
Yeah.
We're already entering their assumptions.
Yeah, and I understand it makes for a good show and it makes for good arguments. And I'm not telling anyone what they should or shouldn't do. I personally wouldn't do it because they can argue forever in that. But that doesn't mean they'll win it, but it means that it'll be longer. But I do like that question.
Well, the fact that it's built on 3 or more assumptions is just that you can just stop there.
Well, exactly. I mean, it'll take some time, but we'll eventually reach the point where Brian's explanation will be negated by somebody just whispering Black Swan when somebody suggests that we can acquire distances to the sun and speed limits for the light that's travelling from it at 1 AU derived from R. Well, that's a long-winded way. You could just go, Black Swan.
Yeah, it's basically begging the question, isn't it?
But in their
Thing
model,
is, though, guys,
in their model,
thing
if for
is-
some reason the celestial distances would become different, then also the amount of time for the light to travel from the sun to the Earth would also move right with that, because they just calculated based on all the presuppositions that they start out with.
Good summary.
The thing is, though, these morons won't even accept that Einstein is the current science. So why would we even entertain it?
I just laugh.
Because it's entertaining?
Well,
I
they're
think they
accepting
can
it
have
over
both,
Brandon's.
Newtonian and Einsteinian.
Yeah, but if they accept it over on Brandon,
I didn't
they
get to
also
finish. I didn't get to finish. They're accepting it over on Brandon's the past while because it suits them. They're not accepting it when it comes to things falling to the ground.
I was going to say, if they accept it on Brandon's, do they also accept that it's just an effect and it doesn't accelerate matter?
Oh, no.
It depends on
there
the
you go then. So they don't accept it.
Hold on.
It depends
What
on the
do they
argument,
accept
Tony.
with that Brandon? What are you guys talking about?
Gravity as an Einsteinian bending of pseudo-force space. When you're talking about dilating time, number one, time doesn't dilate, but you're talking about Einsteinian gravity. well, when you're in pseudo force space, you haven't got mass attracting mass, you haven't got a force, and Anthony's asking, do they accept the fact that when detailing pseudo force space bending and time dilation to explain this answer to your question, Silent Zero, do they accept that they don't have a force anymore? And they're chuckling and G Plus going, well, of course not. Why would they relinquish something that doesn't exist 206 years out of date when they're describing something that doesn't have that particular thing called gravity labelled as a force? They still want it as a force and need it as a force, so they're still going to claim it as a force, even when they're arguing in the paradigm of force space that doesn't exist. There you go. That's what they're laughing about.
The only person who accepted that was Bob when he joined the show there with Brandon about the downward bias, but nobody else accepts that stuff.
Well, that's a surprise.
You know, and really, Einstein is on the way out too. I mean, according to QE, right? If you have spooky action at a distance, then that sort of does special relativity.
That's correct. Incompatible with quantum mechanics. Now, you're ahead of the game by making that statement, because that's absolutely spot on. What we're at the stage now, although we're nearing the end of it, and Anthony will hopefully back me up on this, we've got to get them to actually adhere, this is why they were laughing, to their current gravitational bullshit. And that's Einsteinian non-force bending force space. That's the current rhetoric. Now, we're getting them to argue that rhetoric so we can pummel it. The problem is that they're still using out-of-date Newtonian, namesake only, Cavendish gravity from 106 years ago. So we're not even on to them making their current claim in the first instance, so we can pummel it, albeit with quantum mechanics if need be, in whatever argument you're having. But yeah, you're right. But they don't even claim the current gravity at the moment. So we're trying to coax them on to make the correct claim.
They don't want to accept their new hotness, man. They're still stuck with the old and busted.
Yeah, they don't accept the superseded.
They need forces to work with.
You know what?
On the one hand, they will all vehemently argue that time does dilate because the happily Keating experiment where they sent the atomic clock around the world with two planes going in two different directions, they'll vehemently argue that that's true. But if you argue that that's true, you do have to relinquish gravity being a force. It's defined as an effect of bending space-time, which is what the Haffley-Keating experiment is meant to demonstrate. But they'll not accept that. It's silly.
My son throws that at me all the time, that two-plane nonsense.
Yeah, but if you argue for that, you've then got to you're arguing by definition against gravity being a force, but you don't realise it.
Yeah, the response to it is, so gravity's not a force then?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, well, of course it's a force. Well, happily Keating says that.
It's an effect.
You can't have it both ways.
Exactly, you can't have it both ways. Spot on. But that's what your response is, Neil. All right. Well, you accept bending force space as gravity then, so not mass attracting mass, not a force. Literally, it's not a force.
Most of the ballers, they actually think, due to the 9.8 M2, Boy's 9.8 M2, that because that is part of Einstein's equations, they think that means that the force of gravity is still there. It's like, no, that's
hold on, my son combines though.
One second, hang on, let me finish it. No.
Well, let me just tell you what he does. He combines.
Just please, just let me finish, right?
Stop kneeling.
That is not referencing a force. That's referencing an acceleration, not a cause of the acceleration. The 9.8 M2 references an acceleration, not a cause to the acceleration. So they mix that up. They don't know what the hell. When they see that, they go, that means it's all the same thing. No.
Mix it up. They don't even know there's a difference.
If I answer him like Nathan says, he doesn't say that Einstein superseded it. He combines it with Newtonian.
Yeah, the emergent force.
That's all right. Yes. You can ask him. Just ask him to show you the Neil. It's so easy to say the two are compatible, but then when you ask somebody to actually show you Euclidean 3 space and pseudo-Riemannian 4 space working together, they can't because they're different dimensions. Literally, one's got an extra dimension in it. They are completely incompatible. With that, though, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a day! What a lovely day!